Welcome to Warhammer 40k 8th edition Battle Report 26, 2000 points, Dark Angels vs. Necrons, and this is the chapter-approved Eternal War mission, Dominate and Destroy. Let's begin by taking a quick look around the board and at where the objective markers have been placed. Beginning over in this 2-foot by 2-foot section, the objective marker has been placed next to this ruin. In this middle 2-foot by 2-foot section, the objective marker has been placed next to this ruin. In this 2-foot by 2-foot section, the objective marker has been placed next to this ruin. Over on the other side of the board, on this 2-foot by 2-foot section, the objective marker has been placed next to this ruin. In the middle 2-foot by 2-foot section, the objective marker has been placed next to this building. And finally, in this 2-foot by 2-foot section, the objective marker has been placed next to this ruin. A reminder that because this is the chapter-approved Eternal War mission, Dominate and Destroy, tactical objective cards will not be used in this mission. Instead, each army will score 1 victory point per objective marker that they are controlling at the end of each of their own player turns. And at the end of the game, we will also be scoring the kill points to come up with a final score, but I will not be keeping track of kill points during the game. And also a reminder that the Dark Angels will have 8 command points for this battle report, and the Necrons will also have 8 command points available. Now we will roll for the random map deployment, and getting a 6, which is Vanguard Strike. So on a 1, 2, or 3, the middle line for No Man's Land will go from this corner in the bottom left up to the corner in the top right, which of course means that the deployment zone will be top left and bottom right. And on 4, 5, 6, it will be opposite. So middle line going from bottom right to top left, which means the deployment zone is in bottom left and top right. So here's the roll. Getting a 3, so the line for the middle will go from bottom left to top right, which means that the deployment zones will be top left and bottom right. So on a 1, 2, or 3, the Dark Angels will begin deploying in the top left, and the Necrons will deploy in the bottom right. And on a 4, 5, or 6, it'll be opposite, so Dark Angels in the bottom right and Necrons in the top left. Rolling a 2, so Dark Angels will deploy in the top left, and Necrons will deploy in the bottom right. So on a roll of a 1, 2, or 3, the Dark Angels will begin deploying first, and on a 4, 5, or 6, the Necrons will begin deploying first. And that's a 6, so the Necrons will begin deploying first. We will be back after the deployment. So the Necrons began to deploy first, and the Necrons also finished deploying first, so they will get +1 during the roll-off to determine who goes first. Let's take a quick look at where each army placed all of their units on the board. And so starting with the Necron deployment, we have Ghost Ark, filled with Necron warriors, squad of Necron warriors in the ruin on the objective, the first Night Scythe and the second Night Scythe, and so the squad of Immortals, Overlord, and Cryptek will all be on the Tomb World. First Annihilation Barge, second Annihilation Barge, squad of 6 Canoptic Wraiths, and second Ghost Ark with squad of Necron warriors inside. Over on the Dark Angels deployment, we have a squad of Tactical Marines, which clearly have all fallen over and are kind of in a pile. That's because of the crater. They will not stand up. They refuse to stand up on the edge of the crater, so they're all just kind of there. If it's important later in the game, we'll figure it out as we go. But that's where those Tactical Marines are. They refuse to stand up, and of course the line for their deployment is going right through the middle of the crater, so I can't just have them all in the middle. Land Raider with Deathwing Knights and Belial embarked inside. Predator on the objective marker. First Nephilim Jet Fighter, second Nephilim Jet Fighter, second squad of Tactical Marines, third squad of Tactical Marines, Ravenwing Talon Master, and squad of Ravenwing Black Knights. So now for the roll-off to determine who will go first. I realize that the rules say who wins the roll-off gets to determine whether to go first, but whoever wins will be going first. And so the Necrons will get +1 to this roll, and their dice will be the gold and blue dice. The Dark Angels will use a regular white dice. And the Necrons didn't need the +1 anyways, rolling a 5, whereas the Dark Angels rolled a 3, so the Necrons will go first. But now the Dark Angels will attempt to seize the initiative, and they are looking for 6, and they fail to get it with a 2. So let's move into Necrons, turn 1. Going into Necrons turn 1, a reminder that the Necrons have 8 command points available, and the Dark Angels also have 8 command points available. Going into the movement phase for Necrons turn 1, this Ghost Ark is going to move up the board up to 12 inches, and it will finish its movement here after turning around and really only moving up the board about 6 inches. This squad of Necron warriors in the ruin will remain still. Next, this Annihilation Barge is going to move up the board up to 12 inches over into this direction, and it will finish its movement right here, making sure to keep within 3 inches of the center of this objective marker. Next, this Annihilation Barge will also move up the board up to 12 inches, and it will finish its movement right here. The squad of Canoptic Rays will move up the board up to 12 inches, right to there. Next, this Ghost Ark is going to move up the board up to 12 inches, and it moved about 6 for the base to be in this crater. Next, this Night Scythe is going to move up the board at least 20 inches, but no more than 60, and it will finish its movement right here. Finally, the other Night Scythe will do the same thing, moving up the board at least 20 inches, but no more than 60. And the Night Scythe will finish its movement here with its base over an inch away from these Ravenwing Black Knights, but by ending up here, no Dark Angels units can pass along this edge. Going into the shooting phase, we will begin with this Ghost Ark, which will fire its 2 Gauss Flare arrays at full range into this squad of Ravenwing Black Knights. 10 shots, hitting on 3s, and getting 8 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 5 means 5s to wound, and getting 2 wounds. Minus 1 AP, so 2 4-up armor saves, passing 1 and failing 1. So 1 regular Ravenwing Black Knight will fall from 2 starting wounds down to 1. So now the Necrons are going to use 2 command points, going from 8 down to 6, in order to use the stratagem Methodical Destruction. Use this stratagem after a Sawtech unit from your army has inflicted an unsaved wound onto an enemy unit. Add 1 to hit rolls for friendly Sawtech units that target the same enemy unit this phase. So until the end of the shooting phase, any of the Necron units that shoot at this squad of Ravenwing Black Knights will be able to add 1 to hit rolls. So next, this Night Scythe will fire everything that it has into the Ravenwing Black Knights. 8 shots from the Night Scythe's 2 Tesla Destructors, hitting on 2s, and that makes a difference. Getting 7 hits, but 2 of them are 6s, which means the Night Scythe actually ends up with 11 hits. Strength 7 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on 3s, and getting 6 wounds. No AP, so 6 3-up armor saves. Wow, and they passed 2 but failed 4. 1 damage apiece. So the 1 wounded Ravenwing Black Knight will lose its final wound and be removed from the battlefield. Now, a fully healthy Ravenwing Black Knight will lose both of its starting wounds. And finally, a 3rd Ravenwing Black Knight will go from 2 starting wounds down to 1. Now the other Night Scythe will fire everything that it has into the squad of Ravenwing Black Knights. 8 shots from the 2 Tesla Destructors, hitting on 2s, and getting 7 hits. But there is a 6, and because we are adding 1 to hit rolls, that does mean that the 5s will also generate Tesla hits. Because there were 3 5s in there and 1 6, this Night Scythe ends up with 15 hits out of 8 attacks. Strength 7 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on 3s, and getting 10 wounds. 10 3-up armor saves. Wow! And they failed 8 of them. Wow! That is a really bad omen for the Dark Angels. And so even if they re-rolled one of them with the command point, at least 7 damage would still go through, and there's only 7 wounds left in the squad. So the 1 wounded model is removed, and now the 3 fully healthy 2 wound models are removed, including the Sergeant. And so the Ravenwing Black Knights are completely wiped out, and that is first blood for the Necrons. Next, this Ghost Ark will fire at full range into this squad of Tactical Marines. 10 shots, hitting on 3s, and getting 8 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 4s, and getting 3 wounds. Minus 1 AP from the weapon, but plus 1 AP thanks to the crater, so 3 3-up armor saves, passing 2 and failing 1. And so 1 regular Tactical Marine will go down. This Annihilation Barge is going to fire everything that it has into this closer squad of Tactical Marines right here. Starting with the Gauss Cannon, 3 shots, hitting on 3s. Thanks to being a Sawtech unit, he can move and fire heavy weapons without a penalty. So getting 2 hits, strength 6 versus toughness 4 means wounding on 3s and getting 2 wounds. Minus 3 AP, so 2 6-up armor saves and failing both. The D3 damage won't matter against the 1 wound Tactical Marines. So 2 regular Tactical Marines will go down. 8 shots from the Annihilation Barge's twin Tesla Destructor, hitting on 3s and getting 5 hits, but one of them is a 6, so actually getting 7 hits. Strength 7 versus toughness 4 means wounding on 3s and getting 5 wounds. No AP, so 5 3-up armor saves, and they fail 3 of them. And so that will wipe out the final 3 members of this Tactical Marine squad. So now this Annihilation Barge will fire everything that it has into this squad of Tactical Marines. Starting with 3 shots from the Gauss Cannon, hitting on 3s, getting 1 hit. Strength 6 versus toughness 4 means wounding on a 3, and it wounds. Minus 3 AP, so 1 6-up armor save, which fails. So 1 regular Tactical Marine will go down. And now for the 8 shots from the twin Tesla Destructor, hitting on 3s, and actually only getting 5 hits, no 6s. Strength 7 versus toughness 4 means wounding on 3s, and there we go. Now we're back into balance a little bit. Only 1 wound. No AP, so 1 3-up armor save, which passes. Going into the assault phase, there are no charges to declare. So going into the fight phase, there are no fights to resolve. So moving along into the morale phase, this squad of Tactical Marines did lose 1 model this turn. However, the Sergeant has leadership of 8, and so it's impossible for them to fail. This squad of Tactical Marines also lost 1 model this turn. However, same situation. Sergeant has leadership of 8, so it's impossible for them to fail. And so at the end of Necron's turn 1, the Necrons are currently holding 2 objective markers, and so the score is currently 3 victory points for the Necrons, thanks to First Blood, and 0 victory points for the Dark Angels. Going into Dark Angels turn 1, a reminder that the Dark Angels have 8 command points available, and the Necrons have 6 command points available. Going into the movement phase, for Dark Angels turn 1, this Predator is going to remain still. This Tactical Marine squad is going to move up the board up to 6 inches, and they will also declare an advance in order to get into this ruin, but also to be able to hold this objective marker. And so here's their advance roll, getting 1 additional inch. And the Dark Angels are going to use 1 command point, going from 8 down to 7 for a command reroll to reroll the 1. And here's the reroll, getting 5 additional inches for 11 inches of total movement. And they will finish their movement like so. Next, the Ravenwing Talon Master is going to move up the board up to 16 inches. And he will finish his movement right over here with his base about 1.5 inches away from the base of the Night Scythe. This Nephilim Jet Fighter is going to pivot to its left a little bit and then move up the board at least 20 inches, but no more than 50. And it will finish its movement right here. Next, this Nephilim Jet Fighter will also pivot a little bit to its left and move up the board at least 20 inches, but less than 50. And it will finish its movement right there. This squad of Tactical Marines sitting in the crater will remain still. And finally, the Land Raider Redeemer is going to move up the board up to 10 inches. And he will finish his movement right here. Going into the shooting phase, this squad of Tactical Marines in the crater is going to fire everything that it has into this Ghost Ark, which shot at them in the Necron turn. Starting with the Plasma Cannon, which will fire D3 supercharged shots, and getting 2 shots. Hitting on 3s, rerolling 1 since they remain still, and getting 2 hits. Strength 8 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 3s and getting 2 wounds. Minus 3 AP, so the Ghost Ark will not have an armor save, because the Ghost Ark cannot take advantage of the crater the way that infantry can. So that will be 2 damage that goes through a piece, since it is supercharged, which means that the quantum shielding will take effect, and on rolls of 1 they are ignored. And both will go through, so that is 4 damage. So the Ghost Ark will fall from 14 starting wounds down to 10. Next, the Land Raider Redeemer will fire its twin assault cannon into this Ghost Ark. 12 shots, hitting on 3s, and getting 8 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 4s, and getting 3 wounds. -1 AP, so 3 5-up armor saves, passing 1 and failing 2. And since they're only 1 damage apiece, Quantum Shielding cannot attempt to deny them. So the Ghost Arc will fall from 10 wounds down to 8. Next, the Nephilim Jet Fighter will fire its Black Sword missile launchers into the wounded Ghost Arc, and it will fire its Avenger Mega Bolter and its Twin Heavy Bolter into the Canoptic Wraiths. Starting with the 2 shots from the Black Sword missile launchers, hitting on 3s and getting 1 hit. And the Dark Angels are going to use 1 command point going from 7 down to 6 for a command reroll in order to reroll the 1. And here's the reroll, getting a 2nd hit. Strength 7 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 3s and getting 2 wounds. -3 AP, so no armor save for the Ghost Arc, but they are 2 damage apiece, so the Quantum Shielding can attempt to deny on rolls of 1 and fails with both. So both will go through at 2 damage apiece, so 4 damage total. So the Ghost Arc will fall from 8 wounds down to 4 left. 10 shots with the Avenger Mega Bolter from the Nephilim Jet Fighter onto the Canoptic Wraiths, hitting on 2s thanks to Strafing Run, since the Canoptic Wraiths cannot fly, and getting 9 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on 3s, and getting 9 wounds. 9 3-up invulnerable saves, passing 6 and failing 3. And they are 1 damage apiece, so that is 3 damage total, which will kill off 1 Canoptic Wraith, since they have 3 starting wounds apiece. And now for the 6 shots from the Twin Heavy Bolter, hitting on 2s thanks to Strafing Run. Not that it mattered, getting 5 hits. Strength 5 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on 4s. 1 3-up armor save, 1 3-up invulnerable save, I should say, and it passes. Next, the second Nephilim Jet Fighter is going to fire everything that it has into this wounded Ghost Arc to try to finish it off. Beginning with 2 Black Sword missile launcher shots, hitting on 3s and getting 2 hits. Strength 7 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 3s and getting 1 wound. -3 AP, so no armor save, but Quantum Shielding will deflect it on a 1. And it will not, so that is 2 more damage that goes through. So the Ghost Arc will fall from 4 wounds down to 2. 10 shots from the Avenger Mega Bolter, hitting on 3s. And this shows why Strafing Run is important, getting only 4 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 4s and getting 3 wounds. -1 AP, so 3 5-up armor saves, passing 1, but failing 2. And so the Necrons will now use 1 command point going from 6 down to 5 for a command reroll in order to reroll the 4. And here's the reroll, and it passes, so only taking 1 more damage. So the Ghost Arc will fall from 2 wounds down to 1 left. Finally, 6 shots from the Twin Heavy Bolter, hitting on 3s. And apparently the Dark Angels are incapable of rolling 3s, getting only 3 hits. Strength 5 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 5s and getting 2 wounds. -1 AP, so 2 5-up armor saves, passing 1 and failing 1, and they cannot reroll it. And that will finish off the final wound on the Ghost Arc, so on a 6, will it explode? And it will not. So now the final wound will be removed from the Ghost Arc, and the warriors inside will emergency disembark. And so they have emergency disembarked right here. These 3 refuse to stand up properly, so we're just going to let them stay falled over, along with these guys right here. And now the Ghost Arc will be removed from the map. And even more fell over when the Ghost Arc was removed. And since the Necron warriors emergency disembarked, we have to roll a dice for each model, and on rolls of 1, they are removed from the battlefield. And they rolled 3 1s, so 3 warriors will be killed off. And so 3 warriors that had completely fallen over have been removed from the battlefield. Next, the Ravenwing Talon Master will fire everything that it has into this Black Knight Scythe. Starting with 12 shots from the Twin Assault Cannon, hitting on 4s, and getting 7 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 4s, rerolling 1s thanks to himself. getting 3 wounds, 2 definite fails, and 2 rerolls. And here's the rerolls, getting 1 more wound. Minus 1 AP, so 4 4-up armor saves, passing 3 and failing 1. So the Knight Scythe will drop from 12 starting wounds down to 11. 6 shots from the Twin Heavy Bolter, hitting on 4s, getting 1 hit. Strength 5 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on a 5, and it wounds. Minus 1 AP, so 1 4-up armor save, which passes. And now the Predator will fire everything that it has into the Black Knight Scythe. 2 last cannon shots, hitting on 4s and getting 2 hits. Strength 9 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 3s and getting 1 wound. Minus 3 AP, so 1 6-up armor save, which passes. Finally, 2 D3 shots from the Predator autocannon, getting 5 shots, hitting on 4s, getting 2 hits. Strength 7 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 3s, getting 2 wounds. Minus 1 AP means 2 4-up armor saves, and passing both. Going into the assault phase, there's 1 charge to declare, which is the Ravenwing Talonmaster, declaring a charge onto the Knight Scythe. Starting with Overwatch, of course, from the Knight Scythe, so 8 shots from the 2 Tesla Destructors, hitting on 6s, and getting 2 6s. Now please correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments below, but I have not seen anything, I don't remember reading anything, that Overwatch meant that Tesla didn't go off. So I'm going to assume, since it's not a modifier to the ballistic skill, it's simply hitting on 6s, that even in Overwatch, Tesla still works. So this means the Knight Scythe, until I'm corrected, got 6 hits. Strength 7 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 3s and getting 4 wounds. No AP, so 4 3-up armor saves, and passing all 3 of them, so it didn't even matter. And passing all 4 of them, I should say. So now for the charge distance, going through the crater, getting 7 inches, more than enough. So the Ravenwing Talonmaster is now in combat with the Knight Scythe. Attacks from the Ravenwing Talonmaster with the Relic Heavenfall Blade, hitting on 2s. Getting 3 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 4s, rerolling 1s, and getting 2 wounds. Minus 3 AP, so 2 6-up armor saves, and passes 1 of them. And it will do D3 damage, doing just 1 damage. But the Dark Angels will use a command point, going from 6 down to 5, for a command reroll to reroll the 2. So looking for something higher on the D3, and they roll a 3, so at least they get 2 damage out of it. So the Knight Scythe will fall from 11 wounds down to 9. The Knight Scythe will now hit back 3 attacks, hitting on 6s and failing to hit. Going into the morale phase, this squad of Canoptic Wraiths lost 1 model this turn. However, they have leadership of 10, so it's impossible for them to fail a morale check. This squad of Warriors lost 3 models this turn. However, same situation, they have leadership of 10, so it's impossible for them to fail. And so at the end of Dark Angels turn 1, the Dark Angels are currently holding 2 objective markers, just like the Necrons were. And so the score currently sits at 2 victory points for the Dark Angels and 3 victory points for the Necrons. Going into Necrons turn 2, a reminder that the Necrons have 5 command points available, and the Dark Angels also have 5 command points available. So at the beginning of the turn, we need to do the reanimation protocols rolls for this squad of Necron warriors. They have lost 3 models so far, so looking for 3 5-ups, and they get 1 but fail 2. So 1 Necron warrior will return. Now this squad of 8 Necron warriors is going to move up the board up to 5 inches over towards this objective marker. And they will finish their movement right here within 3 inches of the center of this objective marker. This squad of Necron warriors will remain still. This Ghost Ark is going to move up to 12 inches up the board. And it will finish its movement right here, and there is an objective marker right underneath it, so it is now holding the objective marker. The Warlord for the Necrons, the Overlord, is going to use this Knight Scythe to arrive onto the battlefield from the Tomb World. And it will arrive right here. Now the Overlord is going to move up to 5 inches over to this direction. And he will finish his movement right here, just over an inch away from this Tactical Marine Sergeant. Now this Knight Scythe is going to move up the board up to 20 inches, but no more than 60. And it will finish its movement after moving exactly 20 inches right to there. Now this Knight Scythe is going to pivot up to 90 degrees, and will move up the board at least 20 inches, but no more than 60. And so after moving about 29 inches, it will end up right here. The Silver Annihilation Barge will remain still. The Black Annihilation Barge will also remain still. The Canoptic Wraiths are going to move over this ruin towards the Ravenwing Talonmaster up to 12 inches. And so the Canoptic Wraiths ended up right here. The reason they were able to move over the ruin, even though they don't have fly, is because of their special rule, Wraith form, which allows them to move over other models and terrain as if they weren't there. So going into the shooting phase for Necron's turn 2, this Ghost Ark will fire its 2 Gauze Flare arrays at full range into this squad of Tactical Marines. 10 shots, hitting on 3s. Getting 4 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 4 is 4s to wound. Getting 1 wound. Minus 1 AP, but plus 1 AP thanks to the Ruin, so 1 3-up armor save, which fails of course. And the Dark Angels are going to use 1 command point going from 5 down to 4 for a command reroll to reroll the 1. And here's the reroll, so it passes. Next, the Silver Annihilation Barge is going to fire everything that it has into the same squad of 4 Tactical Marines. Starting with the Gauze Cannon, 3 shots hitting on 3s, getting 1 hit. Strength 6 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on a 3, and it wounds. Minus 3 AP, but thanks to the plus 1 from the Ruin, 1 5-up armor save, which fails. And so 1 regular Tactical Marine will go down. And so now 8 shots from the Twin Tesla Destructor hitting on 3s. And that was pretty good, getting all 8 hits. And 2 of them were 6s, so actually getting 12 hits out of 8 attacks. Strength 7 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 3s and getting 9 wounds. No AP, so 9 2-up armor saves. And they pass 7 but fail 2. And so the Dark Angels are going to kill off the 1 regular Tactical Marine and also the Sergeant. So now this Annihilation Barge will fire its Gauss Cannon into the Nephilim Jet Fighter right behind it, and it will fire its Twin Tesla Destructor into the Lone Tactical Marine. Starting with the 3 shots from the Gauss Cannon, hitting on 4s, getting 1 hit. Strength 6 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on a 4, and it wounds. Minus 3 AP, so 1 6-up armor save, which fails and cannot be rerolled. And it will do D3 damage, and it'll do just 1 damage. So the Nephilim Jet Fighter will fall from 10 starting wounds down to 9. And I'm also going to use this opportunity, since I forgot to at the beginning of the turn, but thanks to Living Metal, this Night Scythe regains 1 lost wound, so it will go back up from 9 wounds to 10. So I apologize for forgetting to do that at the beginning of the turn, but this Night Scythe is actually at 10 wounds. So now for the Twin Tesla Destructor, onto the Lone Tactical Marine with Plasma Cannon. 8 shots hitting on 3s and getting 6 hits, but once again 2 of them are 6s, so actually getting 10 hits. Strength 7 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 3s and getting 7 wounds. No AP, but plus 1 to the armor save thanks to the Ruin, so 7 2-up armor saves, and of course rolling 2 1s. So the Lone Tactical Marine with Plasma Cannon is killed off. This squad of 8 Necron warriors are going to fire all of their weapons at full range into this squad of Tactical Marines. 8 shots hitting on 3s and getting 4 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 4s and rolling 4 3s, so all failed to wound. Next, this Night Scythe, the black one, is going to fire everything that it has into the Predator. 8 shots from the 2 Tesla Destructors hitting on 3s, getting 7 hits, but one of them is a 6, so actually getting 9 hits. Strength 7 versus Toughness 7 means wounding on 4s and getting 5 wounds. 5 3-up armor saves because there's no AP, and passes all 5 of them. So now the other Night Scythe, the Silver Night Scythe, will shoot everything that it has into the Predator. 8 shots with 2 Tesla Destructors hitting on 3s and getting 4 hits, but one of them is a 6, so actually getting 6 hits. Strength 7 versus Toughness 7 means wounding on 4s and getting 4 wounds. No AP, so 4 3-up armor saves, and failing 2. So the Predator will fall from 11 starting wounds down to 9. Going into the assault phase for Necrons turn 2, this squad of 5 Canoptic Wraiths are going to declare a charge onto the Ravenwing Talonmaster. Overwatch first from the Ravenwing Talonmaster, 12 shots from the Twin Assault Cannon hitting on 6s, getting 3 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on 3s and re-rolling 1s, getting 3 wounds. 3 up and vulnerable saves, passing 2 and failing 1. So 1 Canoptic Wraith at the back will fall from 3 starting wounds down to 2. And now for 6 shots from the Twin Heavy Bolter, all fail to hit. And here's the charge range from the Wraiths, getting 11 inches. So now all 5 Wraiths are within an inch of the Ravenwing Talonmaster. The wounded one is this one right here in the middle, and they are all very wobbly because of the crater that's right there. But the Wraiths will get to attack first, 3 attacks apiece with their Vicious Claws for 15 attacks total, hitting on 3s, getting 9 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 4s, and getting 5 wounds. Minus 2 AP, so 5 up armor saves, and failing 4 of them, and they are 2 damage apiece. And the Ravenwing Talonmaster only has 6 wounds, which means it's not even worth it to re-roll, because they would still lose at minimum 6 wounds, so the Ravenwing Talonmaster is killed off. And on a 6, it explodes. And it does! And so each unit within 3 inches will suffer a mortal wound, but the only unit within 3 inches is the Wraiths, so they will suffer 1 mortal wound. So the 1 wounded Wraith will drop from 2 wounds down to 1, which of course means that no models will be killed off from the explosion, and the Ravenwing Talonmaster is too far away from the Overlord, and so the Ravenwing Talonmaster will be removed. However, because he is kind of trapped by the Wraiths, I am first going to consolidate the Wraiths and then remove the Talonmaster. And so the Canoptic Wraiths will consolidate like so, with the wounded one being this one facing a direction different from everyone else. And so going into the morale phase, there are no morale checks to take. And so at the end of Necrons turn 2, the Necrons are currently holding 5 objective markers, and so the score currently sits at 8 victory points for the Necrons and 2 victory points for the Dark Angels. So going into Dark Angels turn 2, the Dark Angels currently have 4 command points available, and the Necrons have 5 command points available. And so at this point, the Dark Angels are going to concede the game. Neither side achieved Slay the Warlord. Neither side achieved Linebreaker, because I'm pretty sure that Flyers cannot achieve Linebreaker. Correct me if I'm wrong. If I am wrong, then technically both sides would get Linebreaker, but I'm going to assume that they can't. So neither side got Slay the Warlord, neither side got Linebreaker. The Dark Angels killed off 1 full Necron unit, which was a Ghost Ark, while the Necrons killed off 4 full Dark Angels units from the Ravenwing Talonmaster, 2 squads of Tactical Marines, and the squad of 6 Ravenwing Black Knights, which brings us to a total score of 12 victory points for the Necrons and 3 victory points for the Dark Angels, with a major victory for the Necrons thanks to a concession. So now that it's been announced that the Necrons have obtained a major victory thanks to a concession from the Dark Angels, with the final score of 12 victory points to 3 in Necron's favor, I can go over 1 or 2 of my final thoughts on this game. First and foremost, of course, is the major reason for concession at this point, and I think the victory points kind of speak for it, but the Necrons are running away with the victory, and the Dark Angels don't really have a chance to catch up just because of who's holding what objective markers. At the end of Necron's turn 2, the Necrons were able to hold 5 objective markers for 5 victory points, and the problem is the Dark Angels at best are only going to be able to knock the Necrons off of 1 of those, mainly this one right here, thanks to this Land Raider. But the problem is that means that at the end of this turn, at best, the Dark Angels will hold 2 objective markers, just like in Dark Angels turn 1. But the problem is that means the Necrons are still holding 4, and it is pretty much impossible for the Dark Angels to knock the Necrons off of the other 4 at this point. And so the Necrons are going to just be able to reliably gain 4 victory points a turn for the rest of the game. and there's nothing really that the Dark Angels can do about it because their entire army is pretty much on this side of the board, except for their 2 flyers, but the 2 Nephilim jet fighters constantly have to be moving. And so one turn they might have a good shot on some models, but the next turn they might not. And like I said, it's all about reliability. The Dark Angels do not have a reliable way to knock the Necrons off of any of the other objective markers, because you have one being held by a Ghost Ark in the corner, which still has its full complement of warriors inside. Well, okay, the Necrons aren't going to be knocked off of that objective marker anytime soon. Another objective marker is being held by one Annihilation Barge, but the second Annihilation Barge is right there, which means if the first one's killed off, the second one can move in and hold the objective marker. Third objective marker is being held by a squad of Necron warriors in a ruin. Well, okay, so they get +1 to their armor save, and it's going to take a lot of firepower to kill off all 10 Necron warriors, plus the fact that they can use reanimation protocols. So unless you completely wipe them out, they might come back. And the fourth objective marker is being held by the Overlord, who is the Warlord. And there's also a squad of Canoptic Wraiths right next to it. And the problem is, both Nephilim jet fighters are going to have to move away from the Overlord in their next movement phase, which means there's no way he's going to be the closest visible enemy unit to anything, so he is guaranteed to hold that for at least one more turn. So the Necrons just managed to put themselves into a really good position right away, and the Dark Angels just don't have a counter for it. So it's unfortunate that the game ended this quickly, but I think this shows how important it is to both armies to get turn 1. Because if you watch the previous battle report, you'll know how important it was for the army that went first. And I won't spoil who went first, but it was very important. And so this battle showed that, once again, going first, getting that first turn is really important and really makes a difference. Plus, of course, the fact that, remember, there's still the squad of Immortals embarked on the Tomb World, and so, of course, the Silver Knight side could disembark the Immortals right next to that objective marker next to the Predator, and so that would just give the Necrons a 5th objective marker back, and there's not really anything that the Dark Angels could do about that either. So the Necrons are pretty much guaranteed to get 4 objective markers a turn for the rest of the game, whereas the Dark Angels will be lucky to hold on to 2, and that means that the Necrons are just going to run away with the victory more every single turn. So like I said, it's unfortunate that the game ended this early, but there's really no other choice, as the Dark Angels just got outmatched right from the get-go. But I still thought it was an interesting battle. I thought there was a lot of interesting dice rolls that happened. I think strategically it shows how things can work out sometimes. So thank you for watching. I really hope you enjoyed, and stay tuned for the next one.